So in the past, if your teammate were to lock NUNU mid, you'd kind of just be expecting to dodge that game because they'd probably just be taking Ghost Cleanse and they'd be running it down mid, just trolling. But that's kind of changed recently. NUNU mid is actually a legit strong pick at the moment that high elo players and pros have been playing a little bit in the past couple days or past week or so. There's actually a top like 150 Korean challenger player who's playing NUNU mid right now and winning a ton, having a lot of success with it. There's also pro players including Bjergsen that have been experimenting with the pick in solo queue in the past couple days, and he's been doing pretty well with it. So in today's video, we're gonna be breaking down why the pick works, the setup, and basically everything else you need to know about NUNU mid. So if we start off by taking a look at why the pick works, number one is that your W can actually one-shot the back wave as early as level 1. So what you want to do with this pick is at the level 1, you want to be setting up like near your tower, charge up your W, use your W towards the wave, and you just crash it into the back wave and it just one-shots the back wave. I'll have some gameplay in the background here showing you guys how this works. It's pretty simple to do. You just basically get perma-prio by doing this in the early game. You're going to be able to clear waves out super quickly, so it just allows for you to start roaming around the map very early on. So for the most part, you kind of just want to be playing this pick as a shove and roam champion. You don't really necessarily want to be interacting with the enemy laner too much unless they're just sitting there in lane, and unless you can get like really easy chunks off on them with your W. You kind of just want to be using your W on the back wave, just perma shove that and look to play around your jungler, look to make roam plays around the map. You can roam as early as level 2 on the NUNU, so you can just clear the wave out. Once you get level 2, look for roam top, look for roam bot, and it's kind of like Aurelion Sol in a way. Like you can roam very early on, and players are not going to expect this a lot of the time, and you're going to find yourself picking up a lot of early kills. Now the reason to why it's become more popular in this patch and to why more people are starting to experiment with it now is because the AP ratio on both his Q and his ultimate were buffed here in 10.13. Champion damage AP ratio on his Q got buffed by 15% from 50% up to 65%, and the healing you get from your Q, the AP ratio was buffed by 20%, so from 70 up to 90%, and that's really big, especially that like heal AP ratio increase there. It just allows for you to have a little bit more sustain in the laning phase. So when you try to like one hit the back wave with your W, you're gonna get poked out a little bit. A lot of the time the enemy is gonna chunk you, but with your Q, it just allows you to heal that back up, and it doesn't really, it just makes so you don't really take too much poke when you are trying to perma shove the wave. Now if the game does drag out for a while, if it does reach really late into the game, then the pick does fall off a little bit. The main strength to the champion is that it just has really good snowball potential in the early game, so you just want to make sure you're roaming a ton with the pick. If you can get a lead in the early game, it's pretty easy to close out games with the NUNU mid because you got really good objective control with the champion. You have your consume there, which can easily take dragons. You can easily look to do an early baron with the NUNU pick, and you can also look to just invade the enemy jungler as well. So you have the ability to, if you perma shove the wave in, you can just walk into the enemy's jungle, look to take out a camp, take out the enemy like raptor camp, take out the big raptor. You can also just take scuttle crabs as well. If you end up getting priority, just steal away the scuttle crab from the enemy jungler. So not only can you influence other lanes, you can also make it so that the enemy jungler falls behind in the early game as well. So moving on to the build now for your NUNU mid, starting item is going to be a Doran's Ring every single game. Don't swap that out for anything. For your boots, it's going to be Sork boots almost every game. You can go Merc Treads or Tabis. If the enemy team is like super heavy AP, you can go Merc Treads, or if they're very heavy AD, you can go Tabis, but I would be looking to grab early Sork boots on your NUNU mid in most of your games. Now core item options there, Protobelt is just great on the NUNU mid. Your main objective with this champion, right, is just for you to look to perma shove waves and look to roam, and when you pick up the Protobelt, it's kind of like the AP version of Tiamat, right? It just allows you to pretty much instantly clear out a wave with the active on Protobelt. Also, the stats you get from the item are really good for NUNU. It makes them a little bit tanky with the HP, gives them some CDR, gives them some AP, and it's a very cheap item as well, so you don't want to be passing up on Protobelt on your NUNU mid. And then one thing I should note as well is that before you finish your Protobelt on your first base, actually just look to grab a Dark Seal. So grab a Dark Seal there very early on. You're going to be able to get a lot of stacks going on this throughout the early game if you're roaming with the champion. In a lot of your games, you should very easily be able to get 10 stacks on your Dark Seal there. And then what a lot of NUNU players are doing right now is they're just upgrading it to a Majai's there as their second core item. So Protobelt into Majai's, you're going to find yourself getting a lot of stacks. It's going to be very beneficial on the champion. And then after after you do end up going for Mejai's, going for a Deadman's is pretty standard right now. If the enemy is pretty heavy AD, look to go Deadman's as your third item. You can look to go for a Spirit Visage if the enemy is stacking, or if the enemy is just very AP heavy, then you can look to go for Spirit Visage. A Stone Plate as well is pretty good. It's pretty standard right now on the NUNU mid. So basically you do want to be going for Proto Belt and Mejai's every single game, and then after that you want to go into tank. You don't really want to build them like any AP after that. You just want to go into tank depending on what the enemy team composition consists of. If we take a look at the rune setup now, there's really just one page going around at the moment that does perform very well on the pick. So it's going to be the Dark Harvest there as your keystone rune. Just a great option, does very well for NUNU mid because you're going to be roaming a lot on the champion. You're going to be picking up a lot of kills in the early game. So you should be able to very easily get a lot of stacks going there on your Dark Harvest. You're going to want to be taking the Cheap Shot there as one of your secondary runes, along with Eyeball Collector and Relentless Hunter. And then for secondary, taking the Celerity and the Water Walking, just really good options because you're going to be in the river a ton with this pick, right? You're going to be roaming a lot, so just having that Celerity with the Water Walking and Relentless Hunter, it just allows for you to go from mid to bot lane in a matter of seconds. The only rune that some players are swapping around right now on this page here is the Eyeball Collector, so swapping that for either Zombie Ward or Ghost Poro, that is an option there. So if you do prefer like running Zombie Ward, you can go ahead and do that, but I just think Eyeball Collector is kind of too good to pass up on. You're going to be roaming a lot, you're going to be getting a lot of stacks on your Eyeball Collector. You should be getting max stacks pretty much every single game and really benefiting from that, so I would recommend going the Eyeball Collector, but you do have options in that row. Now for your ability maxing here, this is really important because depending on the situation, you're going to want to switch things up a little bit. So the ability you take at level 1 is going to be your W every single game. You want to take your W there because you want to use that to one hit the back wave. Level 2 though, it does depend on like what you're looking to do. So if you see a good roam opportunity, if you're looking to roam at level 2, take your E because it does allow for you to have that extra crowd control there to lock down the opponent when you are going for a roam play. If you don't see a roam opportunity though, and you're looking to just stay in lane, I would be looking to take the Q to just allow yourself to sustain through the enemy's poke during the first couple levels there. And then at level 3, whichever ability you don't take at level 2, so if you take your E at level 2, take Q at level 3. If you take your Q at level 2, then take E at level 3. And then for the complete ability maxing, you want to be maxing your Q first, your E second, and then your W last. So basically the opposite order of what you take these abilities for the first couple levels is how you want to max them. So you don't want to be maxing your W out first. You only want to put 1 point into that at level 1, max your Q first there. I feel like a lot of players would just kind of expect that you max your W out first because that is the main ability here that you're looking to use to wave clear and roam with on the NUNU mid, but that's not the case. So make sure you are using this correct ability maxing when you do play this pick. And then for your summoner spells on the NUNU mid, the Ghost Cleanse, just classic setup on your NUNU mid. Nothing else is better at the moment, so you should be looking to run that every single game. Jokes aside though, Flash and Ignite is just best on NUNU right now. Some players are taking Flash Teleport, but just Flash Ignite is performing stat-wise way better than anything else, and it just allows for you to find those kills really easily when you're looking for roam opportunities. Just gives you that extra damage to finish off kills and to get snowballing in the early game. And then running down some of the best bans for the champion, Cassiopeia is a really good ban. The ground effect can be very annoying. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure when Cassiopeia grounds you, it stops your W channel, so that can be a pretty hard counter to NUNU. Also, just the fact that she does have a lot of consistent damage can be very difficult to deal with. The Galio there is just overall one of the best bans for mid lane in this patch. Really any AP champion you're playing in the mid lane does struggle against Galio right now, so he's just a pretty good ban in general. Kassadin there, if I'm not mistaken, also can look to cancel your snowball with his Q. His Q is like this mini silence to where as soon as it lands, it does cancel channeled abilities. So if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it will cancel the NUNU W there. And just overall, Kassadin does do very well into a lot of AP mid lane champions too, so that can be a more difficult matchup. And then for Katarina there, it's pretty easy for her to dodge out on your snowball if you're looking to use that on her in the laning phase, and she can just very easily, if she dodges out on the snowball, she can just very easily look to beat you in the 1v1 there. So any of these 4 champions are very good bans if you're looking to play the NUNU mid. Alright, so that is going to be all for the video, guys. Hopefully this does give you a pretty good understanding as to why NUNU mid has been rising in popularity recently, and if you do play it yourself or you do run into it in solo queue, you're going to know the strengths of the pick and you're going to know how to play against it or play as it. So with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed the video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.